What up, YouTube? It's your boy, Detroit Love, with another video. Today we're going to take a look at the GRS Switchable 4 to 8-way restrictor. This is compatible with SanWa compatible joysticks. It includes a 2-in-1 arcade button that allows you to manually switch between the 4-way and 8-way, or you can program it via software to have it automatically take care of it for you. This is a need that has been there in the arcade industry as long as there have been multicades, and now there is an affordable solution that's easy to install and just does what it markets itself to do. Let's check it out. Ever since MAME has existed to allow people to emulate the arcade games, the classic arcade games, there has been this need to be able to switch easily from 4-way to 8-way. Most of the traditional or classic arcade games tend to use 4-way, up, down, left, right. However, there are exceptions to that. With games like Gunsmoke, most of the shoot 'em up games require 8-way movement, and so when you get into emulation, most people put a joystick in and they need to be able to switch. Now, the most popular of joysticks are SanWa or SanWa compatible, and the restrictor gate on that particular type of joystick gives you the ability to manually switch the restrictor gate from a 4-way to 8-way. So what this kit does is allow you to give you a manual switch. So this button here gives you this button that allows you to just switch it from 4-way to 8-way if you're on particular cabinets, and if you're on a PC or a Raspberry Pi where you have the the software, you can have this automatically work for you. So this equipment is very simple, very affordable kit that just allows you to change this so you don't have to worry about sacrificing playing 8-way games with 4-way or playing 4-way games with an 8-way controller. The 2-in-1 arcade button is fantastic for the AtGames Legends devices, the iArcade cabinet, or even a stocked arcade 1-up cabinet like Burger Time, where you have a mix of games that use both 4-way and 8-way joystick controls.
Install, you have your whether you're elected to install the button or not have the button is irrelevant for this portion. We're going to show you how to install the software. The software is going to allow you to the games to automatically select the gate, whether it's 4-way or 8-way. And so we are going to show you that process. Now, in the manual that came with your device, it gives you the link to download the software right here for Raspberry Pi, and it gives you some steps to install it. Now, like all technical manuals, the people who write these are highly technical, and they assume you know quite a few things. I'm going to assume that you don't know anything about doing this, that you're a novice, a newbie, and so I'm going to give you the steps on how to install this. And so the first things first, I created some steps which are in the description of this video, show you what to do on the computer, what to do on the Raspberry Pi. And so we're going to download some files to get started. So there are 3 files that we're going to download. The 2 files are PuTTY and pscp. PuTTY you can use instead of using the command prompt, but I like using the command prompt because it gives you some other options. But I definitely recommend So there's 3 files. You only need 2 of the files, of number 2 and number 3 for this procedure, but I definitely recommend using PuTTY. So I'll let you get down. I'll download it, show you how to download. So you have the link. You just click on the link or copy the link into the browser, and you want to save this. Now, so I do want to mention, as far as the location of where you're saving these files, it's important. So we're going to open up the command prompt. Just hit the Windows key, type CMD. You see this black command, you click on that and open it. So it brings up this command prompt. Whatever folder that this prompt has here is where you should save the files. It just makes it easier, and so that Windows recognizes the file. Okay, so in my case it's C users/Brook, and so yours will be different, obviously. So wherever that is, that's where you want to be up here. Okay, so you go to the same folder, C users Brook in my case. Okay, that's where you want to go, so that wherever you enter these files, they're going to be in the same location. All right, so we have PuTTY. Only takes a few seconds. We click on the pscp, say yes. It'll let you download that as well. So once we have that, we close that. You see it here. And the third thing, now this is the same link that's in the book for this file. Okay, so you can click it either way. We'll click there and save that to the same location. This one's a little bigger, so it may take a few seconds to download. If you go to close the window, it'll tell you continue downloading. Now that it's done, I can close it. Alright, so I have my 3 files. Alright, and so now the second file is the file used to copy this third file to your Raspberry Pi, and so that's what this command is here. Now you just copy and paste each of these lines. Okay, so you just copy and paste that here. Now in my case, I renamed my machine, so it's not called Retropie. Yours will be Retropie. If you renamed it, you would have to change it the same way I'm changing it here. Okay, just so you can see that. Hit enter. It asks you for your password. Your password, the default password, is Raspberry. If you change it like me, you have to type in the new password. Okay, you'll see this 100%. If you don't see 100%, something happens. You can just hit the up key and repeat that. Or if you typed in the wrong name, or you can use the IP address here. Whatever works. You can either use the Retropie or the IP address for that. But you wanted to see 100% to make sure that you got the file transferred to that device. You see, it only took a few seconds. All right. So now that we have that, we're going to go over to the Raspberry Pi. Again, just copy and paste this file, Control C, right click here, copy that, right click there. And again, I'm going to do this just so you see. I'm going to change mine from that to Galaga, because that's the name of my machine. It's going to ask you for the password again. And now you are on this new machine, or you're on your Retropie. Now the first time, if this is the first time that you've ever jumped over there, it's going to ask you about saving a key. You're going to have to say Y or yes to that in order to proceed. But once you do that, you'll be on your machine. So now we want to change directories to the directory that we copied the file to previously, and that's here. So if we do an ls, that'll list the files that's in this directory. You see in red, that's the file that we copied from the previous command. Okay, so now we're going to back up. We're going to run this command to back up this command file that's existing in there. If you have one, run the command either way. Either you have it or you don't. So in my case, it copied it. I'll do an ls. You'll see that I now have a backup of that file. Okay, that makes sense. Now we're going to unzip the file that we copied. Copy that, right click over here, hit enter, Now, because I do have an existing file called runcommand-onstart.sh, it's going to ask me to to overwrite. I'm just going to say A to overwrite anything else that it has. Okay, so now I have the files unzipped. I'm going to make sure that these files are executable, and so I'm going to copy this line here over there. Boom. If you see any type of error, you shouldn't, because you're copying and pasting. But if you got an error versus just getting back to the prompt, you would have to make sure your names are correct. Excuse me. All right, so now we need the command to determine which port we're using. Now, actually, at this point in time, you are done. There's no other steps you have to do. The program's going to run and do what it needs to do. And let me just explain what this program's doing. So I'm going to just going to do a more on this. It just shows you what the contents of this file is. This first thing, it says way. Which way do you put this the restrictor gate? Which direction? And so it looks at this command, this program, this file called roms4way.txt. So if we look at that file, now this is a huge file because there's a lot of 4-way games. But I'm going to do this so you can see. So here, so it's just listing every 4-way game. So on your Raspberry Pi, if you have any of these 4-way games, it's going to know that. If for some reason you got a unique game that isn't in this list, you can just edit this file by saying sudo nano roms for, I hit the tab to finish that, roms4way.txt. And so you can edit this file and add in a file that's missing. Okay, once you're done, you control X and save it, and then you have the new file there. But just so you know how the process works. Okay, so you can run this command here to get the port. So I mentioned before, I'll do more again on this program again. All right, so it's going to look at that text file and determine which direction the ROM should be set. Then it's going to run this command. It's going to say the port equals whatever this particular command gets. It gets the port and it assigns it to this variable called port. And then this line here, not that one, this line here says whatever port we found up there, set the gate to 8 or 4 on that particular port. Okay, so those 3 commands. So what we can do as a bonus, so that we can tell the program what your specific USB port is and have it just work without having to check every time. Okay, just more efficient that way. All right, so we're going to run this command to determine what our port is assigned to. So we go over here. That's not it. That's not it. I need to copy this here. Control C. All right. So that is our port here. Our port is dev/ttyacm0. There's 4 ports on your Raspberry Pi, and it could be either port 0, port 1, port 2, or port 3. In my case, it's 0. And so now that we know which port we're on, we're going to edit this file. So we're going to do this command here, sudo nano for this. No, that is not it. I didn't actually copy it. Copy it. All right. And so now we're looking at this .sh file. This is the command that's going to run on start. You see a lot of text here, but the things that are green are the only things that are going to be executed. Everything else is a remark, or a comment. Okay, that pound sign at the beginning of each line lets the program know to ignore this. This is just something we want the person to read. So the 3 green lines are the only things that are going to be executed. Now you see these green squares. sometimes these programs put this in here. I'm just going to delete those because I don't want those things to do anything crazy or unexpected. So I just delete those. Okay. So now, again, this first green line is telling it which file to check to determine whether the game is 4-way or 8-way. Okay. It's determining whether it's 4-way, because if it's not in this list, it's going to make it 8-way. Okay. So that one we want to keep, because we already used this program here to determine that our port is 0. We don't need it to check this every time because we know what it is. So we're going to rim this out. And again, this is all optional. You could be done at this point in time, but if you want to make it more efficient, this is what you can do. So we're going to do a Shift 3 to put that in, and now you see that green line is now blue, which means it will not get executed. And now this line, this third line, previously is using that line that we just rimmed out. You see where the red, where it says port, it was using that value that it found from that line. We don't need it to do that, so we're going to rim that out. Now we can't stop here because it won't execute anything. So what we want to do is execute this last line. So we're going to remove this line. We're going to remove this @ sign, so that now that becomes green, and now it's going to execute this command on port 0 because that's the default that the developer put by default. If yours is 1, 2, or 3, you would change this 0 to reflect whatever number you have. Okay, so if yours is 1, 2, or 3, put that. If it's 0 like mine, just leave it as that. Okay, and now we're going to save this file. We're going to do a Control X, and if we follow our instructions here, we're going to do a Control X here, Y, and enter. All right, so now we're here. So the last thing we want to do is just reboot our device. I don't think we need to reboot the device, but I always just like to do that anyway. And so I'm going to do a sudo reboot. And now we are done on the computer. Now we can go over to the cabinet and see the results. Alright, so blue is 4-way. We're going to exit this game. And let's try something that's 4-way, like, let's try something that's 8-way. So I can think of the name, Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke is a 8-way, which is red. So let's start that. See if it just switches automatically. Yep, switched automatically to red. Get a quarter. Just make sure that it performs as 8-way. Yep, so I can go diagonally. Have to figure out which one with this button. It's not same for my right shooting. Alright, but anyway, the joystick's doing what it should be doing. Alright, we'll exit that. It's still red for 8-way. We're going to go to Galaga, or let's say Pac-Man, Donkey Kong. So it's still red. I'm going to start it. As soon as you start it, it automatically switches. So it's working the way it should work. Okay. So bottom line, this is a pretty awesome tool, an accessory, an add-on, an extension of your existing cabinet. Maybe you're been struggling with this for a while, finally got a solution, or maybe you're building your cabinet for the first time and searching for a solution to be able to play both 4-way and 8-way joysticks on the same cabinet without too much hassle. So that's what this product brings. So the all-in-one kit allows for one complete installation of one joystick, but it supports up to 4. So you can add 3 more on. And so GRS, Glenn's Retro Show, they also provide add-on or extension
kits where you can buy additional parts. It's going to include everything except for the board, because you already have the board with the initial kit. So you can buy that to add additional buttons if you need to. So if you have a 2-player, you just buy the kit and then the extension. If you have, say, a 4-player and you want to be able to have all 4, then you buy the kit and then 3 extensions. So it's very flexible, but this product is very easy to install, as you saw. If you've come here, found your solution, don't just run off and live happily ever after. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, let me know that you appreciate my work and that I helped you on this. That helps the algorithms for YouTube. So please do that. And until next time, I'll see you on the web.